Packers injury report out, defensive end Kingsley Kiki's out, and then questionable defensive end Dean Lowry. Those are actually both starting defensive ends for them. So one out, one questionable for the Packers. On the Chiefs side of things, offensive tackle Mike Rimmers is out for them, but that is it as far as the injury report for those guys. If we look out across elsewhere, there are still 2 7.5s available in this if you did want to take the Packers, and that is one of those is available at DraftKings. 48 is the total right now. And if we look at this, I mean, guys, look, I mean, we talked about this over and over and over again, and we said with this team, Patrick Mahomes continues to turn the ball over. If they or just the team in general continues to turn the ball over, they're going to continue to have a very, very tough time in winning football games. And what did we see last week? Yet again, just absolutely ridiculous when it comes to turning the ball over. They are 30th in the NFL in plus minus from turnovers. It's just a really, really bad. I mean, I don't know what you can do at this point. I mean, they're fumbling the ball. Patrick Mahomes with all kinds of really fundamental errors. There were some stats here from Sports Info Solutions, and they kind of have their own metric of how they grade quarterbacks and stuff. So outside of Pro Football Focus, outside of DVOA stuff that we look at, they kind of have their own metrics. And so Patrick Mahomes has logged 52 career regular season games with 15 or more pass attempts. His last 4 games have all ranked among the 10 worst of his career, and none of his 2021 performances are inside the top 10 in his career. So if that lets you know how he's been playing so far this season, to kind of pile on even further. And I think this goes back to what we were talking about when I was mentioning the whole Kurt Warner thing about him saying, like, listen, look, the guy's infinitely talented. I don't think that, anyone's going to question that. He said, but, that doesn't mean that he doesn't have things to work on, specifically his fundamentals and his footwork and different things like that. So here we go. Patrick Mahomes has had registered a 71% on-target throw rate on intermediate passes from 2018 to 2020. This season, 63% through the first 8 games, which is actually 24th in the NFL. 24. Patrick Mahomes, 20 in a passing category. Patrick Mahomes is 24th in the NFL in something. And so, we start
it's amazing. Man.
Yeah, I mean, we start to put this stuff together, and like we were pointing it out as we were watching the different games. It's thrown behind receivers, all the different stuff like that, and I mean, it's right here in the stats. I mean, like the guy went from a 71% on those intermediate throws down to 63% on these intermediate throws. And so you kind of look at this, and the Packers traded up. Now, whether you agree with it or not, the Packers traded up into the first round to get Jordan Love for a reason. And this is basically the most important. It's so crazy that we have to say this because of all the other nonsense that's going on and that all the stuff he's going to have to deal with. But this is the most important game of Jordan Love's life. Like, it is for sure.
Yes.
Because if he goes out and just absolutely stinks it up, then, I mean, because the scrutiny on this game right now is going to be at an epic level because on both sides, right? Because everyone's going to be watching to see, are the Chiefs really just complete frauds? People are going to be watching that. And then they're also going to be watching and be like, oh, well, what do the Packers look like without Aaron Rodgers? Is Jordan Love just complete garbage? It's like the scrutiny on this game is already going to be at a level 10. And so, golly, man, I feel kind of sorry for this guy. The good thing is, for him, he is going to have everybody out there. You get Devontae Adams back. You get Marcus Valdez-Scantling back off of IR. You have Allen Lazard back off the COVID list as well. You have both running backs to go at this. And you are facing a team that is very, very poor against the run, and you have a really good 1-2 punch at running back. So you would think that the pressure on Jordan Love would be at least a little bit less here in this one. I talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. I did go ahead and play the under on this game at 49, so it's down to 48 now. The thinking behind this would be that the Packers try to play this game a little bit closer to the vest and that the Packers don't run up tempo, that the Packers keep Jordan Love in high percentage throws where there's not a ton of incompletions, which obviously stops the clock, that you utilize the 2 running back approach here against one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, specifically the 29th worst run defense, DVOA. And if you go by Pro Football Focus, they just have them dead last in the NFL. Yards per rush they're giving up, and that's just a stat. This isn't even grades or anything like that, just a stat. Yards per rush, they're 28th in the league in giving up yards per rush. And so you look at this Green Bay team, that runs the ball really, really well. I think that's going to be the approach here. And so you're giving me 7.5 points at DraftKings right now. Still available. You're giving me 7.5 points here in a game that I'm taking the under on because I don't think there's going to be a ton of points scored, and the way that I think that the game that is going to be dictated by the pace of play on the Packers side of things, and also from the Chiefs aspect. Are you really just going to have Patrick Mahomes out there slinging the ball all over the place and throwing it to other teams and hitting other teams in the face masks and stuff?
Yes.
Probably. But I mean, if they're smart, they probably try to run the ball a little bit more as well.
Well, they were having success running the ball.
Yeah.
It wasn't good enough for Andy Reid. They're like, let's just keep chucking it.
And the Green Bay run defense, 30th overall DVOA. This would be the way that you would go about the Packers team as well. So I like the Packers side here. Maybe I'm just being naive. Thinking that Jordan Love, again, a guy that they took in the first round, who has been in the NFL. Yes, he doesn't have much experience, but he's been in the NFL for a while now. He's been around. He's played in preseason games. He's sat there, on the sideline watching Aaron Rodgers play.
I'm glad you're saying this because, for those of a certain age, we remember when backup quarterbacks used to hold the clipboard, we used to call it, for 2-3 years. And a lot of those guys, when they had an opportunity to do that, when they'd show up and finally play, they were pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And so for everyone to assume Jordan Love is going to stink is one of the most stupid assumptions you can make. Maybe he will.
Maybe he will.
But I wouldn't count on it.
Maybe he will. But again, this guy is not just like fresh. This isn't someone they had to pluck off of the practice squad like some of these teams are having to do these days. This is a guy that they traded up into the first round to get, and is going to be the future of this franchise, whether they like it or not, because Aaron Rodgers is gone for sure at the end of this year. So I took the 7. I took the 7.5. I like the 7.5. Prove me wrong, Chiefs. Maybe you figure something out over the course of a week, but I doubt it.